glad to be here. My name is Nikola, and I'm coming from Block Analytica team, the risk team behind Maker and DAI stablecoin, now also USDS stablecoin. And I'm here today to talk about latest, basically developing trends in the DeFi space. Now, this is actually a talk I've been giving for 3 years now, so it can get pretty interesting to compare the agendas from the previous years. By the way, since it's going to be a 20-minute talk, we're not going to really dive into details of every topic we are going to touch today. So for that matter, across the whole presentation, you may find QR codes that you can scan if you want to, dive deeper into the topics we're gonna talk about today. This year's agenda looks like this. So we're first gonna cover basically some new iterations of DeFi protocols. Then we're gonna head to specific innovative trends in DeFi lending space. Then also we're going to touch the topic of yield products and how those have evolved over time in DeFi. And after that, we're also going to get an overview of let's say a public good stablecoin dashboard built actually by the Block Analytica called Sphere. And then we're going to touch, in my opinion, a very important topic, and that is privacy in Ethereum. This is actually going to be my contribution into bringing back more topics related to privacy to the events like this, to the Ethereum events like this one. And then we're going to wrap up with some DeFi tools that you may consider or should be checking out nowadays while wandering through the DeFi space. Okay, so first thing first, we're going to discuss new protocol durations. So basically, here's a list of just a couple of them. Some of them are not here. For example, Morpho V2 recently was announced, introducing the fixed rates. But yeah, most of them are here. So the first one is Fluid. It's a new innovative lending protocol that kind of was the first one to combine providing collateral that you can, of course, borrow against, but at the same time use that same capital to provide liquidity to a DEX so that you can basically earn trading fees alongside the supply rate you are getting on the lending protocol. That combination of liquidity provisioning to DEX and to a lending protocol is done, at least in Fluid, by something called Smart Collateral and Smart Debt. Now, what that is briefly, so smart collateral is basically done by having pools that have a pair of assets available as collateral. Here I give an example of Wrap BTC and Coinbase BTC. So essentially you as a user, as let's say a CDP holder, position holder, can say, okay, I don't really care if my collateral is held in Wrap BTC or Coinbase BTC, and what the protocol does, it basically leverages that fact by saying, okay, then we can use that liquidity as a DEX liquidity, right, and earn trading fees on it. So this is exactly what Fluid does, and as when it comes to Smart Debt, it's a bit more complex, but still also a bit more cool because your debt actually can be utilized as a trading liquidity. And yeah, this is actually something that is technically not possible in any kind of traditional finance setup. Smart Debt looks like this, like a pool on Fluid Smart Debt looks like this. So let's say you put ETH as collateral, and then you can draw or generate USDC or USDT as debt. And you, again, as a user, are basically saying, I don't really care if I need to pay the debt back in USDC or USDT, as long as I earn trading fees in return on this. So how the protocol flow of actions works on the Smart Debt is basically, let's say a trader comes and he wants to swap USDT for USDC. He's basically paying back your USDT debt, and the protocol is minting USDC debt back to the trader, and you are essentially earning like a trading fee for that swap. Then Liquidity V2, it is another iteration of like a completely immutable stablecoin protocol. Liquidity V1, the LUSD stablecoin. This one also comes with a new stablecoin called Bold. Like the newest value proposition and innovation is that I know it sounds maybe a bit utopian, but you as a borrower can basically set your own borrow rate. Now the catch here is that the lower the borrow rate you set, the higher the redemption risk in the protocol you will have, and you can briefly explain it, the redemption liquidity. You can basically see it as a liquidation, but arguably without any loss, because the only thing you lose is the exposure to the collateral asset. Then, of course, Euler V2, which comes also with the recently introduced Euler swap. Euler is a new, very modular lending protocol, and Euler swap is a DEX similar to Fluid DEX, in a sense that you can basically reutilize your collateral as a trading liquidity. Then Aave V4, Uniswap V4, as I said, Morpho V2, a lot of them with a lot of innovation and experiments. But yeah, as I said, feel free to scan those QR codes if you wanna read more about those and dive deeper, as I've basically wrote about all of them so far. Then yes, I also wanted to touch on the topic of what I think is coming next to DeFi, and especially the DeFi lending space. So what I think we're gonna see very soon is, or maybe we even started seeing some of those, is first risk trenching or yield trenching. Basically, what this means is separating your LPs into the junior and senior tranches, what we are massively seeing in TradFi, of course. We're going to actually talk about this more on the next slide. Then risk premiums. This is something, again, one of the risk management improvements, I think, that should be taken into account when you are kind of calculating what rate your users should be paying for the services they're getting from your protocol. So basically, the mechanism would be to pay a higher rate for borrowing against like a riskier collateral. So it makes sense, right? I think this is actually what Aave V4 is going to bring when it goes live, and I would expect other protocols to follow as well. Then fixed borrow rates. This is something we are yet to see, at least not in a successful manner, let's say. Those can be maturity-based, like the Pendle protocol is doing for the opposite side, like for the fixed supply rates or yield rates. Morpho, as I said, Morpho V2 is trying to tackle this with their new protocol iteration. And then composite oracles. Now by this is also kind of a risk management improvement, sort of. What I wanted to say by composite oracles is that now DeFi, I think, has evolved enough, at least the lending space, that you can kind of play around a bit and experiment with pricing the assets within your protocols to make like the overall protocol significantly safer. Some examples of composite oracles can be introducing upper bounds to stablecoins and LSTs. Considering that stablecoins are the asset that is mostly being borrowed on DeFi lending protocols, you don't want the price of those stablecoins to go above $1 for any reason you can think of. So it might be clever to just introduce some upper bounds. Then you may use redemption exchange rates for, let's say, tokens or collaterals like liquid staking, staked ETH. Of course, with a fallback to a market price. So that's what I mean by composite oracles, and then you can basically do the fallback in case of some threshold is met, and that threshold can be like the deviation between the exchange rate and the market price. Different oracle providers, of course. For example, you can use, let's say, Chainlink as a primary, or Redstone as a secondary, on the other way around, because you don't want to have a dependency on a specific provider. Then the median between various providers, of course, I think this is something that Sparkland is currently doing, and even some custom feeds for specific purposes. Okay, so for example, I think we did this on a LBTC, the Lombard BTC Morpho market on Base. What we basically did is use proof of reserve oracle from Redstone, and then combine it with a market fallback based on deviation threshold. Of course, this kind of custom oracles need to be audited, but yeah, this is also something, if you want to increase the security of asset pricing within your protocol, something to consider. Yeah, next topic, yield products and the evolution of those in DeFi. So it's in my opinion been a very interesting evolution, because now we are seeing, I would say, finally, the segregation of risk and reward as a product. We're gonna talk about the examples of those, and of course the fixed yield products. Right. This is where Pendle protocol comes in, because there were like a bunch of different, let's say, protocols that did not manage to find a market fit. Arguably, it was like too early of the DeFi stage to introduce that kind of idea. But yeah, Pendle did the timing right, and basically now the Pendle PT tokens, the ones that are kind of offering the fixed yield, are massively used across DeFi as collateral on Aave, Morpho, etc. When it comes to segregation of risk reward, one of the examples is like the revamped Aave tokenomics, in a sense that now the new tokenomics is basically called Umbrella, and in Umbrella you don't need to stake the Aave token to earn like additional yield and to act like a backstop liquidity in case Aave gets a bad debt. Now what you can do is you can stake the A tokens, right? The AUSDC. So the A tokens in Aave are basically the receipt tokens you get when you supply to Aave. So you can additionally stake them, and then you basically boost your supplier yield, but you kind of are falling down into the junior tranche, right? The consequences of this is that vanilla deposits, like the current deposits, we get the same yield for less risk, because the stakers are gonna take that risk for you and kind of earn the additional yield. That yield is, by the way, coming from the Aave DAO itself, like from the treasury. The protocol is earning from borrowers from all the deployments. Then another example is the Summerfi. It's called Summerfi Lazy Protocol, and it's basically similar to what Yearn was doing. It's aggregating yield sources across protocols and networks, and it also is offering basically a higher and a lower risk tier. So I think it could be useful for people that are not that familiar with like all the DeFi yield sources and management of those. So it's just one-click deposit, and you just can choose whether you want to supply into the higher and the lower risk. Of course, the higher risk brings higher yield. And yeah, Pendle PT tokens, as I said, massively used already as collateral, and now thanks to the DeFi modularity, you can on top build like the auto rolling to the next maturity, and basically have like a perpetual fixed yield, which is pretty cool. Okay, so Sphere, this is the dashboard I mentioned at the start. This is something we're building at Block Analytica. Actually, like 2 hours ago, we released also the risk-adjusted yield for major stablecoins across mainnet on like major lending protocols like Aave, Compound, Morpho, Spark, etc., Fluid. But yeah, essentially it was launched as a dashboard where you can basically compare, as you can see, stablecoin borrow rates and the supply rates, and then you basically can choose where you want to go. Like it's imagined as a first stop when you want to decide where do you want to take a loan in DeFi. And yeah, it also has like the benchmark rates we're using for assessing the Sky savings rate, formerly known as DAI savings rate. And yes, from basically from today, you can also find, we kind of implemented our risk model, which also you can find on the dashboard itself in the documentation, which is kind of powering this risk-adjusted yield dashboard that you can see here. So what we aim to tackle by this is basically to say, okay, I want to get a glimpse of, the ratio of risk-return in DeFi. And then, yeah, as I said, this is currently just covering mainnet, Ethereum mainnet. Okay, this is a project also I want to talk about that is related to privacy topic. The project is called Privacy Pools. It's relatively new, a non-custodial and non-restrictive privacy protocol. You can see there's a Tornado Cache for the ones that are familiar with the Tornado Cache protocol. But the one important distinction, or let's say addition, is that you can see it as a Tornado Cache, but with an optional ZK proofs that you can use to exclude yourself to prove that you're not a hacker or criminal or things like that. So, like the catch is that the main differentiation is that there is no hard-coded compliance rules that you can basically find in Tornado Cache, but instead anyone can prepare a list. You can do it for yourself basically, or let's say a centralized exchange wants to do some sort of QIC, and what they can do is they can basically define their own exclusion list based on law enforcement data, sanctions list, and then require you to prove that you are not part of that list. And it's done basically with ZK proofs. So you're not revealing any kind of information except that to them. Of course, criminals can still, and similar actors can still use it for money laundering, but the protocol design discourages them since they can't prove they're not part of the specific list, that they're basically clean. Yeah, this is I think the last slide that we're gonna wrap up with, and I think I'm gonna keep it for a minute or two here, because this is something I usually like to emphasize, like some tools that I'm basically using nowadays. Let's say if you don't want to get MEV'd, please consider using some of the private RPCs like MEV Blocker, Flashbots RPC. Simulate first. Yeah, this is something also I'm recommending wherever I go. Use the products that use tenderly simulations and similar tools under the hood, like Rabbi Wallet, DeFi Saver for DeFi. When it comes to lending and borrowing, you can use the Sphere dashboard to find the best stablecoin rates or risk-adjusted yield down. And if you are looking to minimize the liquidation and front-end downtime risk, focus on protocols with proper risk management. Potentially also DeFi Saver automation, which is pretty cool, and of course use the multi-sig safe and similar for key rotations. When it comes to swapping and bridging, I also mostly use the Llama swap, which is kind of the meta DEX aggregator, and Jumper Exchange, which is kind of the same thing, just for for the bridging purposes. I timed it pretty good. Yeah, I think that'll be it. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, I did it, so no, I'm sorry. That was amazing, DeFi, Nicola.
Thanks.
I'm giving an echo again. So you have been so good that nobody actually... Oh, there came a question in from Blockchain Miner. Can Sphere Dashboard alert users to events like risk liquidity rates or declining collateral on key stablecoins?
Yeah, nice question. Actually, we have been thinking of... So no, currently no. But yeah, we are thinking of adding this because this is not like the first request we kind of got about the topic, about the like alerts. I think it was not just the liquidation rates. I think it was like rates in general, and then yeah, it was something else. But yeah, also the liquidation. So yeah, this is actually something we are considering adding, and that may be added in the future. But yeah, currently no.
Well, a short and sweet question and answer. Yeah. Anyone from the audience have a direct questions? Because I know I have one as well. So when it's come about staking, everything, a lot I know about is the impermanent loss in staking. How are you working with that with the stablecoin staking?
Yeah, I mean, impermanent loss generally can be minimized if you are like providing liquidity to the stable swap pools. So I don't think that's like the big issue. If you are again providing liquidity to like the non-correlated pairs, it is definitely something that we are yet to tackle. Like overall, generally speaking, in DeFi, there is some actually cool new project. It's called Yield Basis, if I'm not mistaken. It's from the Curve founder. I'm yet to dive into it deeper, but yeah, I think it kind of leverages your LP position and tries to tackle impermanent loss by basically collecting more trading fees. But yeah, don't take my word for it, because as I said, it's I think it's just a brief overview. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, permanent loss is always a nasty thing. So we have proof of staking just come in. How do you evaluate risk?
Yeah, well, I don't think this is like the question for 1 or 2 minutes that we have left. But yeah, in general, when it comes to lending protocols, because this is mostly like our clients, so we kind of first segregated in market risk, liquidity risk, counterparty risk, settlement risk, oracle risk, and then the tricky part is to try to quantify it and combine it. But yeah, actually a lot of risk assessment is done by qualitative evaluation of like specific assets that you are like kind of onboarding to your protocol. But yeah, I mean we can discuss further in person. Yeah.
Yeah, risk analysis is always a big thing, and it's like going down a rabbit hole all the time.
Yeah.
So, any more questions from the audience sitting here with us today? No? Well, then I want to say thank you for helping us navigate the DeFi jungle, Nicola.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.